was the summer of 2014, and for my son's bar mitzvah present, just like many Jewish parents, we wanted him to bond with the Holy Land. Oh, it worked perhaps too well. My husband had stayed back at the hotel, and our friends, my son and I, had just stopped in a pharmacy.
Run to the bomb shelter, sweetie, please hurry. I didn't hear the sirens at first, but the Israelis did. They're used to hearing these things. We ran to the back of the storeroom. It was a 12-foot by 24-foot windowless bomb shelter. My heart's pounding. Boom, boom. I hear it and feel the percussion of the exploding bombs. I'm trying not to get sick. I look at my 13-year-old son and I think I'll never forgive myself if something happens to him.
That's an excerpt from a speech I gave to the Orange County Jewish Bar Association. It was the first, but not the last time we had to run to a bomb shelter. Our adventure and my transformation is also the subject of my book, Blasted from Complacency, A Journey from Terror to Transformation in Israel. There is no chapter in a parenting book on what to do when a war starts and you're on a family vacation. Think touring extraordinary and sacred sites mixed with cowering in bomb shelters. I'm still trying to get over the Jewish guilt of taking my son to war for his bar mitzvah present. The impact of being human targets helped me understand the plight of Israelis living like this, and it also made me want to work on peace. How Israel is often described on the news is not what I'd seen with my own eyes. And I felt Palestinian parents also preferred their children playing safely in their backyards. The missiles exploded just near enough to blow apart my world as I knew it, forever changing me. And you'd never recognize my life today with what it was like then. I believe I found my life's purpose. Hello, I'm Penny St., and I'm the host of Peace with Penny. Welcome. Today we're going to speak with the co-founder of Tech2Peace, an organization that is an incredibly hot commodity. It's our last interview of the year, and boy, it's sizzling. In 2018, they won the first ever Israeli President's Hope Award for bringing together diverse parts of Israeli society. They are a peace organization that uses the attraction of teaching computer skills and entrepreneurship to Israelis and Palestinians together with the possibility of a startup to align their company with sponsors like Google, Microsoft, and MIT. Wow. Founded in 2017, Tech2Peace is a joint Israeli-Palestinian NGO that hosts 2-week-long intensive seminars for young Palestinians and Israelis, blending technology, entrepreneurship, training, conflict dialogue, and social activities, along with continued community building events post-seminar. Tech2Peace's mission is to build a community of Israelis and Palestinians who are devoted to coexistence and the peace-building process and are capable of gaining employment in the high-tech sector with the possibility for some to include Arab Jewish startups. The seminars are just the beginning. Tech2Peace boasts a highly active alumni community with monthly activities organized by both staff and alumni, focusing on professional development, dialogue, high-tech, and staying connected. Some of their alumni go on to create startups and other initiatives together, and many work to spread the word in their local communities and networks. They aim to build a strong community of Israelis and Palestinians who hold greater empathy towards the other side in the conflict and work both as a group and individually from their positions in society towards greater peace and coexistence. Today, I'm excited that we're going to meet with one of the co-founders of Tech2Peace, Tomer Cohen. Driven by the belief that young people can become agents of change, Tomer Cohen devoted himself to creating bridges between different communities, promoting peace and understanding between nations, using technology and innovation as his major tool. Tomer's professional career, launched at age 17, included forming the youth branch of Be Free Israel to promote pluralism and diversity in Israeli society, and serving as fundraising manager of the Green Movement Party, helping it to enter parliament for the first time. Tomer co-founded and currently leads Tech2Peace, employing technology, dialogue, and initiatives while working alongside partners such as MIT, Google, Microsoft, and many others, bringing together Palestinians and Israelis and offering them a chance to connect and promote economic and social prosperity. So welcome, Tomer.
Hi, Penny. How are you doing?
Okay, Tomer, you have quite an exciting business that offers students incredible opportunities. I think first we should show a clip so people can get a better idea of your work. So we're going to show a video about your seminar in Uraham. So let me share my screen. So that was so incredible. Do you want to talk a little bit about the seminar?
We basically hold seminars in the periphery, like it means far away from Tel Aviv, at least a few times a year. Anytime it's a 2-week-long seminar, which 30 participants, 15 Palestinians and 15 Israelis are coming together to study high-tech, if it's programming, AI, mobile app development, and etc. Alongside dialogue, very intensive dialogue, which they touch all the most difficult topics during those 2 weeks, which basically brings them to the point that they can communicate and understand the other side, despite they are not agreeing with one another. But they do have empathy, they do understand how the other side is thinking, and it's what built the basis for future cooperation, friendships, and partnerships.
Terrific. Tech2Peace was founded in 2017. How was it developed?
It all started way before by Abir, which is Palestinian from East Jerusalem, and Uri, that ran a program called Hand in Hand, Yad V'Yad, for more than 10 years. It was an informal program that we brought more than 400 Israelis and Palestinians for dialogue. And when I met them in 2017, Uri described to me the main challenges they have. And one of the challenges was the fact that many times it's the same people who are coming to those dialogue workshops. It's really hard to bring people from the mainstream or people from the right wing. And the second challenge that they shared with me, it's about that many times those seminars, those trainings of Palestinians and Israelis, if it takes place in Israel, in the West Bank or abroad, there is no continuity for the long term. Like once the youth exchange or seminar is over, there is no partnerships or friendships that are kept for the long term. So we thought, how can we tackle this? How can we really create a much bigger scale change? And we came up with the idea of combining high-tech and dialogue at the same time, providing economic and educational opportunities for the participants alongside with the dialogue. And what we discovered in the months after that, it is actually working. The with combination of high-tech and dialogue in the same time is really promising, because we saw in the first seminar how the participants created bonds between one another, and how we learned high-tech, and it didn't interrupt the dialogue session, and the opposite. And once we got a very positive feedbacks, including a few participants who came to us with tear under the eye and told us, listen, you changed our life in this program. When it's 2 days something. But what was nice to discover is that we weren't the only one to discover this. Also, very big corporate and partners discovered this. If it's Google, Microsoft, McKinsey, MIT, and many others. So since then, we grew very fast. We doubled our size almost every year. And the demand for our seminars from young Palestinians and Israelis is increasing dramatically as the time passes. Like last summer, we got more than 600 applicants for only 90 spots. So the demand is there, and we try to address it as much as possible. And we need more partners, more friends on board in order to fulfill the potential of Tech2Peace, which is a community of thousands of Palestinians and Israelis that can cooperate and build partnerships and friendships that will change, hopefully significantly, the whole region in the next 1 or 2 decades.
Wonderful. You were awarded the first ever Israeli President's Hope Award for bringing together diverse parts of Israeli society. What was that like?
It was very exciting. We didn't believe in the first time because there are hundreds of amazing and well-experienced NGOs that trying for years and sometimes decades. And we weren't even registered back then as an NGO. We were just a project, and we still won the prize. So it was very exciting. We understood how many people, from no matter which political spectrum they came from, if it's Palestinians and Israelis, anyone who is not radical, anyone who is moderate and wish for a better future is supporting Tech2Peace up to date. And it was another approval for our concept.
The Tech2Peace has doubled every year, and since it started, has the program changed since you started in the beginning?
The program has changed. The seminar itself changed a bit in a few ways. We shaped a bit the seminars, but the concept stayed the same. What was changed is how we developed the alumni program and the alumni community. When we just finished the first seminar, it was clear for us that the seminar was just the tool in order to start and build the basis of a future community. So we started to create events, and the alumni started to meet one another on a regular basis without coordinated with Tech2Peace, which was the best thing that we could ask for. But they actually worked together. They built friendships with one another, and it wasn't dependent on Tech2Peace. And by the time it passed, we created more things like online courses with MIT, Microsoft, and Google, as well as other alumni weekends that we hold every couple of months of advanced dialogue to advance on the dialogue that we already did in the seminars, and many weekends and lectures and events that we were holding up to date. And the most nice thing is that every year no matter how many dozens of events we hold as Tech2Peace, the alumni meet between themselves independently at least 2 times more than the formal events that we hold. So this is the best approval for this community and for its potential.
Yeah, soon we'll be showing some pictures from one of the recent events. Are you able to accommodate all the people who are interested?
Absolutely no, unfortunately. The demand is growing. There are amazing Palestinians and Israelis, but we must do not accept to the seminars. These days, the acceptance rate is very competitive, and it could be a bit less competitive in order to balance between the demand and of course the level of the seminars. And there are so many potential leaders in the region that we still didn't address because we know that the Tech2Peace can grow even faster if the resources and the capacity will allow.
I think you have to turn away something like 70%, isn't that true?
More than 70% of the applicants are not accepted, of course.
Yeah. Is there a qualifying process for the students?
So it all starts with an application that the candidate apply for. If the candidate passes the application, he or she will go into an interview. And after the interview, we basically say to them if they are accepted or not to the program. So it's very competitive. It's not like many youth exchanges and seminars, which you just apply and that's it. You must also pass a very competitive interview along the way, as well as a detailed.
What kind of requirements? I mean, can you just name a couple of requirements that people must have to be able to even hope to get in?
So the most important thing is a very clear, let's say, wish or a talent and experience in being a leader in the community. If you have any experience in being a leader, or the candidate, he explains very well why he or she will be leaders in the near future and why they can be leaders and why they want to be leaders in their businesses or their communities, it will increase their chances in order to make it and join the Tech2Peace seminars.
Where do you give the seminars?
So the seminars are taking place in a few places like Yerucham, which is a small town, amazing town in southern Israel, as well as Nazareth, Abu Ghosh near Jerusalem. We held seminar in Jisr al-Zarqa, which is near Haifa, and in some other places, like Hatzeva, which is in the Arava, in the Negev desert, on the way to Eilat. And hopefully next year we're also gonna hold for the first time a seminar in the West Bank. So days will tell where we're gonna be next. And the more we spread, the more locations and partners in new places that will come.
So there's 50% Israelis, 50% Palestinians, and I believe that's 50% men and 50% women. Is that true?
Absolutely. Yeah.
That's awesome. Awesome. The seminars begin and they're residential for 2 weeks. Do the Israelis room with the Palestinians, or how are the roommates selected?
So the whole point is about mixing. It is about getting to live in the most, let's say, real way together. So of course they are living together in mixed rooms and get the chance to be with one another for 24/7. And it really accelerates the time that's needed in order to build trust and to build friendships, despite the misunderstandings and the different narratives.
So half the day they spend on tech and half the day they spend on contact resolution skills. What type of tech options are there?
Mobile app development, 3D design, AI, programming, video editing, and a few others. So every participant chooses area is on track in tech, and then they focus on their workshop for the next 2 weeks in order to get to know it, many of them for the first time.
The other half of the day is spent on contact resolution skills. Who are the teachers and how do they accomplish the interaction? It seems like are many of these Israelis and Palestinians this may be the first time they've ever really interacted with each other, even though they live right next to each other. Can you talk a little bit about that?
So Abir and Uri, the co-founders, are the leaders of the dialogue sessions, the conflict resolution sessions, and they built a team of talented alumni that joined their team in educating and training the next generations, the next seminars of Tech2Peace. And by that, they start from a very relaxing point of just talking about cultures, about playing some silly games in order to break the ice. And after a couple of days, the masterpiece is about how to dig deeper and deeper inside the tough discussions. And once they start to cross the line and talking about also tough, very tough things, the friendships, the basis of the friendships already have been made and it's been created. So it's promising that people won't say to the other, like won't think in their heads towards the other, okay, it's just he or she just they do not what they speak about because they're just silly people. They won't say it because they know that the people in front of them, the Israeli or the Palestinian in front of them, is actually very clever and very good people. So they cannot just, dismiss and remove the other side's opinion, and it's really shaking people from the core once they understand that there is more than one narrative. There is no black and white, right and wrong in a total way. And this is what builds the option to be working together in the long term and to have friendships despite the differences in the long term.
You also have guest speakers. Can you talk about some of those who have come and spoken with the students?
Absolutely. We have many guest speakers. Every evening there is another guest speaker in the seminar. It could be like top executives that coming and sharing experiences as entrepreneurs. It could be ambassadors of different countries that sharing about other conflicts that have been solved, like, for example, the head of mission of the Irish embassy that kept on coming to the seminars and shared how the conflict in Ireland was developed and how they solved it. And it's also give another perspective. So the more contact in high-tech dialogue and entrepreneurship for the best lecturers is for the better of the participants and their development process. So this is what we do.
Awesome. How do the relationships go from meeting each other for the first time to actually forming startups together?
So we as Tech2Peace do not open for them the startups, and we consider ourselves as a pre-accelerator program, but we do have partners like 50/50 startups, which is a startup accelerator that sits in Jerusalem and in Boston, and they take some of the Tech2Peace alumni in the partnership between the organizations and help them to build their ventures together, Palestinians and Israelis. And we, of course, help them in the process of integrating inside the 50/50 startup save program. And they also help them once they finish in the startup ventures, if they do. We have a few examples of this already. And the more to come. It's just a matter of time until many more startups will be built.
I believe you use a format called the Hackathon, and I don't know that all of our listeners know what that is. Can you describe what that is? Because I'm going to show in a little bit one that was held in Switzerland in November. But if you could just in general explain what a hackathon is.
Yeah, absolutely. A hackathon is basically a contest that a few people come together to solve a problem in 24 hours. So what we do is something similar to hackathon. We consider it as a startup workshop that Google for Startups are coming to Tech2Peace seminars, and then the participants are divided into startup ideas that they develop by their own. And then they work on their startup ideas for the next 24 hours with mentors from the top of the industry. If it's like people who lead VCs in Israel, if it's executives or other amazing mentors with a lot of experience, decades of experience, that coming and sharing their insights with the different teams in order to be able to pitch their startup ideas after 24 hours, including a very detailed business model, as well as a research on the market and all what's needed in order to convince why an idea of startup could be implemented by the team.
So I have the example of this. This is in Switzerland in November. This is pretty much what you're describing. And you want to make a comment about this?
So in Switzerland, it was a mainly alumni seminar and less newcomers, but the concept was the same. But as you can see in the picture, the participants first of all pitched their startup ideas, and once the participants selected the best ideas, we were dividing into mixed teams of Palestinians and Israelis, women and men, to work on their startup ideas for the next 24 hours.
And it looks like they're going over the judging criteria.
Apparently, I wasn't there, so I cannot tell you, but yeah.
And then finally here, they're working as a team, I guess. Trying to figure this all out, huh?
Absolutely, yes.
It's so cool. What opportunities that you're really providing these young Israelis and Palestinians. How do they end up working together? Just from the friendships that they make, or how does it evolve?
So once we finish the seminar, we join the alumni community, and it depends about the needs of each of the alumni. A few of them starting their ventures, a few others start to work or going to start their MA or PhD studies later on in the process. So it really depends. And we try to provide the best tools and a framework that will allow them to keep in touch, to get better as professionals, and in order to be the most valuable community for themselves in their professional and personal lives.
How does Google, Microsoft, and MIT participate? That sounds like a dream come true. If I were a techie person and I had an idea, I would be over the moon. So what do these companies do with the different people trying to have startups?
So basically, by Google, we do the startup workshop as you shared in the pictures. With Microsoft, they provide us guest lectures and as well as a host some of our alumni events and some other forms of partnerships. And MIT, before COVID started, they sent to us instructors. It will, of course, renew once the COVID pandemic will stop, as well as online courses for the alumni.
That's so awesome. Is there a competition for the startups and awards or prize money?
Yes, in the later process of 50-50 startups, we do have a competition and also an opportunity to get the seed funding in order to start the ventures.
So, do you know how many startups have been created?
Up to date from Tech2Peace, a few startups, real ventures already been created, and a few dozens of initiatives between Palestinians and Israelis, social initiatives, have been started from a one-time event into programs in the communities. And those numbers are always increasing by the time, because we hold more seminars, more alumni, persuade what they try to achieve in their lives as adults. So by the time, the situation just getting more and more promising.
Can you talk about a business startup or a peace initiative that was started specifically that were particularly successful?
Absolutely, there are a few. For example, one alumni of Tech2Peace, her name is Adnan. She's from the north of Israel, and she started a startup accelerator in the desert tech field. But she brings to her program women founders of different startups from all around the Middle East to work together and to develop her startup ideas. So she was participating in the first seminar of Tech2Peace in 2018, and now she builds a new ecosystem in all around the Middle East between Arab, Jews, women, men, Christian, Muslim, and Jews. So
Awesome.
she's a perfect example of how the impact of the alumni already have been taking place in the real world.
And any others that you think of?
For example, we have another alumnus, his name is Adnan, but he started a company which is a mobile app for fitness practice in the Arab world, which is in Arabic, and it aims to increase the amount of people, women and men, who practice sports in the Arab world, because there's a very big problem in the Arab world that many people do not do enough sports, and of course it has its implications about the physical and mental health of many people around the Middle East. And his application is already been taking place, and he raised already funds, and it goes very well. So, and of course there are a few other examples, but those are maybe the two main, most promising at that point.
And do the tech companies continue on with their association with the startups to help them get going?
So it really depends about the startup itself. Where, like for example, Adnan, was working on this application. He was selected to be with a startup in the Google for Startups in Accelerator, and now he get assistance from the executives and the professionals in Google all around the world to make sure that his startup is actually succeeding and fulfilling its potential. So it's another example of how we managed to connect between those tech giants with our alumni in order to create impact.
That's so great. Well, I wanted to say your alumni also has fun. So I wanted to share a recent event that they had. It was a combined Hanukkah Christmas event. It looks like where they went to on a tour in Jaffa. And this is the flyer for it. Sounds like fun for sure. And then here they are in Jaffa. And part of it was they lit the Hanukkah candles. So it's meeting each other and learning with each other and having fun with each other and meeting incredible people. Sounds like a terrific organization. Did you want to say anything more about the alumni events?
So the alumni events many times succeeding not because of Tech2Peace, to be honest. It's because of the people. Because people want to be with friends, they want to be in this community because they know they're going to find amazing people, but they share the same vision and the fact that it's providing them good time as well as a sense of community, which is also something that many people are really missing these days in the 21st century. So it's all at once coming into a point where the community is really evolving by the time, and the people want to be engaged.
How many students have gone through your seminars?
So up to date, we have already 300 alumni.
Awesome. And about how many stay active, would you say?
So according to our statistics, at least 70% came at least to one event in the last year from all the cohorts of Tech2Peace up to date. And it speaks to itself that even from the first seminars, the first cohorts, people continue to engage in the community. And just a very few stopped being in touch with the community, or they are still in touch, but not coming physically to events because maybe they study abroad, or maybe they are super busy with their ventures or their studies. So even those who do not come, they are still engaged, many of them in a way or another in Tech2Peace. So the formal number is at least 70%, but the actual number is even higher. And this is also important to know about this community.
I'm telling you, you know, I joined too just hearing about it. Just, of course, I'm older than everybody, but just, you know, the youth, these are 20 somethings for the most part, 20 to 30-year-olds who have been given this horrible situation, but are intelligent and have the personal realization that they want to work together and move the country forward. So it's exciting. It's very exciting in so many ways. So, you know, just from an outsider, I'm excited about it. So I can imagine if, you know, you're getting to interact with all these other people your same age and they're, you know, smart and creative, and it must be wonderful.
It is.
Are there mentors provided at all besides the, you know, the tech companies? Just any other kinds of mentors? You know, obviously that there's the tech company folks if they choose them to go on, they're mentoring them, they're helping them. But are there any other types of mentors that help the alumni?
We still didn't inform up to date the mentor program for the Tech2Peace alumni, even though we had a program with McKinsey, but a few alumni of Tech2Peace selected to be mentored for 6 months by the experts of McKinsey to persuade their potential professionally in terms of the working space, and as well as there are informal occasions that we provide mentors, but we as Tech2Peace, we're going to start probably in the next year a mentorship opportunity for the alumni, formal mentorship opportunity by Tech2Peace.
Starting McKinsey, everything you do is, the top level. McKinsey, Google, MIT, Microsoft, those students really are provided with just incredible opportunity. I understand that MIT is using your model in Africa. You want to talk about that?
So the section of MIT in Africa chose the Tech2Peace model in order to be implemented in Cape Town with a local partner, and we supervise them in order to implement this hopefully in the coming year if the COVID situation will allow. And it's very exciting that such an organization, such an institution approves the model of Tech2Peace in efficiency and in the impact that it creates.
I talked to many peace activists on both sides, and particularly for the Palestinian side, but on either side, when they go back to their own communities, because of extremists on both sides and anti-normalization, it's a problem. Does that become a problem for your students?
Sometimes, but we as the community were very protecting and very open at the same time. So many people support our cause. Anyone who is not radical.
Sorry?
Yeah, anyone who is not radical supporting Tech2Peace. And it makes the life easier for many of our people on board.
Do they get hassle from their relatives, like when they, it's the holidays now, and
basically no.
Really? That's awesome. That's really awesome. So how were you impacted by COVID?
During COVID, in 2020, we wanted to hold 5 seminars or 4 seminars at least, and we managed to hold only 2. We didn't move to virtual. We managed to hold physical face-to-face 2 seminars, and in between the different lockdowns in Israel and Palestine, and by that we secured the growth of Tech2Peace despite COVID. For a few months, we of course held just events online, but any moment that the lockdowns were moved, we were holding events outside. For example, we went for a hike in the desert near the Dead Sea, and in the evening we had a lecture by a Googler that came and spoke to the participants in the open air. So we managed to combine the tech and the traveling and the social part held alive also during COVID.
How did the May conflict impact you?
The community was really shaken, and we weren't sure how it will affect the community. But just a few weeks after the seminar, after the war, we saw that the community was stayed together, and people kept meeting one another, and fears and the emotional stress and the emotional challenge was removed because they were more resilient, apparently, compared to other people that weren't talking to the other side and knowing the narrative and the perspective of the other side. So once the war was ended, it was like very quick until this community was reformed and was back to normal situation.
So basically it worked.
Yeah, indeed.
It proved your point, right?
Absolutely,
That
yeah.
learning to live together.
Yeah, it was a big test, and indeed we managed.
Yeah, and that was a huge test. So do you have projects involved with the West Bank residents?
Absolutely. Most of the seminars, all the seminars are including West Bankers, including from refugee camps, and we also have alumni events in the West Bank from time to time. So it's definitely, there's no Tech2Peace with no West Bankers, Palestinians, and hopefully we will manage to bring Gazans in the future. We always managed in the past, but then of course with the Gazans it's way harder to work because of the situation on the border between Israel and Hamas. But we will try, and we hope that in the future we will manage to bring Palestinians from Gaza to the seminars.
Awesome. Do you have something with the Abraham Accords on your plans?
Not yet, but we definitely aim to also hold events and to create partnerships with other representatives from other nations around the Middle East, because this is the vision of Tech2Peace, to acknowledging the reality on the ground and to look for a better future from this point onwards. So anyone who is willing to help us create a better future is welcome to be our partner.
Awesome. You know, whenever I talk to the different people interested in peace between Israelis and Palestinians, I always talk a little bit, at least, about their interest in it, and some, I hope you don't mind, I'd like to just go a little into your personal past, because there have been, frankly, incredibly interesting, transformative stories that I've heard. But where'd you grow up?
I grew up in Jerusalem with a great family from both sides. And I went to a very nice school in Jerusalem, but it was during the second Intifada, when the conflict was all around and buses were explode almost every day. Like the abnormal was the normal for me and for many other friends of mine back then. And we didn't know what is to live in a normal place, in a quiet and peaceful place.
Where were you living?
It was really shaping in Jerusalem.
In Jerusalem.
Yeah, it really shaped my perspective, as well as my fears towards the other side. And
what did you think at that point?
I was like, it's not something that can be removed very easily. The fear from the other side and the ignorance towards the other side. No matter how much you work on it, we see it also with many people in the community. That also after the dialogue, it's impossible to remove 100% of the stigmas and the fears and the emotions that was being held in people since we were born. It's impossible to remove 100%.
Well, for me, I was only there 2 weeks, and being with the bombs and all that, and running to bomb shelters, it gets your attention, that's for sure. And the fear, and you know, that was in July of 2014, and what turned out to be Operation Protective Edge. But running to bomb shelters and having, even though it's Iron Dome that's, blowing up the missiles to prevent them from landing, there were over 4,000 Palestinian missiles that came into Israel, and without Iron Dome, who knows how many Israelis could have been killed. But the impact on me, that's what got me into this. It made me want to work on peace, because I felt that, Palestinian moms, also wanted their kids to be able to play safely in their backyards, not having this backwards and forwards. But I know when you're in the bomb shelter, the first thing, and I know that many Israelis feel this way, is retaliation. You've got missiles coming at your kids and so on, and you want to fight back. But and of course we have the Israeli military that does that. You also were part of the military, I believe.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah, because that's standard procedure for everybody they graduate high school and go to the military instead of off to college. So what did you do there?
I was a fighter in a special technological unit, and it was a very, very interesting service. I also have amazing experiences from friends and from beautiful views during the service. So I was lucky to do not serve in checkpoints and stuff like this in the West Bank, but rather to do something special. And my experience, not like many others, was really positive. But of course, many people leave the army, fighters leave the army with traumas and with severe mental and physical challenges. I have a few friends that tackled those huge challenges. So I acknowledge that I was lucky to have a positive service rather than a negative one.
How did you get involved in the social activism?
So basically, I was volunteering in high school in an NGO that was promoting pluralism in the Israeli society, and I formed the first youth branch. And since then it was developed. I was working for the Green Movement Party, which is the main environmental party in Israel. Right after after I finished high school. So it's all developed since high school up to date.
So as far as so many Israelis and Palestinians, even though they live next to each other, they don't really interact. How old were you when you really first had a good conversation with a Palestinian?
So once, for the first time, you just forget about the fact that the one in front of you is Israeli or Palestinian, and you just see the human in front of you. Everything is smooth. So this is what happened to me, and this is what happened to all the hundreds of beneficiaries of Tech2Peace up to date.
Yeah. You have time for one last question?
Yeah, last question.
If you could talk to the world, what would you want them to know about Tech2Peace?
To know that there is a community of positive change makers that do acknowledge the harsh situation. And from this acknowledgement in the tough situation that we live in, we are eager and optimistic about building a better future through entrepreneurship and understanding. And the more newcomers and the more partners and supporters, the more chance that we will succeed in changing this reality with our community and as well as our organizations.
Awesome.
Thank you so much.
Take care. You're doing fantastic work. I'd love to hear about it.
Thank you so much.
Thanks so much, Tomer, for sharing with us the incredible work and opportunities you offer to Israeli and Palestinian young people, helping building a strong community comprised of intelligence and hope. So this is it for 2021 for our interviews. We hope you'll take the opportunity to watch any Peace with Penny interviews that you may have missed by going to our website at www.penny, the letter S, like Schwartz, my middle name, TEE, like my last name, .com, and looking under podcasts or by looking on our Peace with Penny YouTube channel. For 2022, we'll be starting off with a loud message of hope by looking at the Alliance for Middle East Peace Gala that they held recently. If you don't know, ALMEP has about 160 members that are Israeli and Palestinian peace organizations, many that Peace with Penny has interviewed over this last year and will be interviewing many more next year. These are Israelis and Palestinians that work together to bring about change in many facets of life within Israel-Palestine. So you see, there are lots of reasons to be hopeful and thankful as we close out 2021 and begin 2022. Please stay in touch, check out our previous interviews during this break, and we look forward to reconnecting on January 4th, 2022, again at 11 a.m. Pacific time. We hope you enjoyed learning with us this year, and may you live in peace, shalom, and salam.